3, 2, 1, 0. All engine running. Liftoff. We have a liftoff.
TNA Wrestling Show.
I mean, I've watched your guys' show, you know, so it's nothing new to me.
This is Petey Williams' definition of definition, the Make Believe Muscle, and I need you to subscribe to Andre Corbeil on YouTube.
Hi, I'm Diana Hart. You're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show with Big Ray and Andre Corbeil.
That's right.
What brings you to my house like Petey Corbeil while I'm wearing my PJ?
This is Monsters BC, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show, a.k.a. formerly Brodus Clay the Funkasaurus, and you do know that.
It's me, Hernandez, a.k.a. the Super Mex, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show.
This is the effing machine, this is Wolverine, Mr. GMSI himself, Brian Cage, here with Andre and Big Ray, and you're watching the Can-Am Wrestling Show.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the Can-Am Wrestling Show, episode number 68. And if you don't know who I am the Mark of the Masters, the man with the plan, Big Ray, here to talk some wrestling today. And I am joined, as always, by my Can-Am brother from the north, my Canadian compadre. I call him the Canadian Destroyer, Mr. Andre Corbeil. What's up, buddy?
I sure am the Canadian Destroyer. How you doing, Ray?
Pretty good, man. Pretty good.
Now, wrestling fans, this is going to be a unique Can-Am Wrestling Show, a little different. Ultimately, it's going to be a Q&A, but Big Ray and I are going to incorporate our staple, our top 10, and we're going to end off the show with a wrestling what-if. So, this might not be as long as usual show, Ray. We'll see, since it's a new format in this stance or whatnot, but it should be interesting. Ray and I have come up with a plethora of different wrestling questions to have you guys think about, comment on in the comment section below, and next week in the response video, we'll get to your questions and your responses, and we'll interact and bounce off of each other and share our opinions with you, the viewers. So this show's all about you, other than the opening and closing segment. So I guess it's not all about them, eh, Ray?
Not about all of them. And how was your week, by the way, Andre?
Hectic.
Yeah, my week was tough, man. I had a tough week at work. My mother's getting over back surgery. And I'm gonna give a word. Can I give a word of advice? Because these are our friends here at OneWrestling.com and our friends on Twitter and Facebook. Ladies and gentlemen, sometimes you have people in your life who really care about you, and all they want to do is help you out. Shut up and listen. Over the last week, I just had a tendency to just want to do things my way and argue and be stupid, and you know who I'm talking to out there, and I definitely have to apologize. But sometimes you just need to just shut up and listen. You don't have all the answers. So
it's funny. I'm in the same boat right now, buddy.
Isn't that something? Like seriously. Yeah, sometimes as men or just people in general, we have these people that really love and really care about us, and all they want is the best for us, and all we seem to do is push them away by acting stupid and just trying to be tough or whatever. And I had a big reality check this weekend, so I learned my lesson, and I think from now at this point, I'm going to shut up. That's going to be my new mantra. Shut up and listen. Andre?
Shut up and listen. Think before you speak.
Oh, my God. Jesus.
What's that old saying that old European lady? Be very, very nice to everyone you meet.
Ain't that the truth, man? Now, listen. Before we jump into our top 10, I'm going to make this very, very clear. And no one here is going to elaborate on anything. This is the way it's going to be. We are not accepting any questions on Hulk Hogan. Okay?
There's enough out there for everybody. It's been bled to death. And Big Ray, Andre Corbeil, and One Wrestling would like to digress.
Right now, really quickly, if you have any questions as to what happened, Go to onewrestling.com. There's a great link that Bill Apter put up by Rolling Stone magazine. It's a legitimate source, so you can look into that or go into any dirt sheet and see whatever you want to see. But as far as we're concerned here at onewrestling.com, we are not getting into the Hulk Hogan topic. The only thing I can personally say was I was shocked. That's it. That's it. So I'm not going any further. Andre's not going any further. Do not send us any Q&A questions about Hulk Hogan, because we're just not going to answer them.
And you know one thing that Hulk Hogan isn't, wrestling fans and Big Ray?
What's that, Andre?
A hardcore wrestler. Segue.
Andre, let's jump into our top 10
the Can-Am Wrestling
hardcore wrestlers of all time.
This is going to be interesting. Now, we haven't done this top 10 ever, and I'm interested to see what your top 10 list is going to consist of. We might have a couple of the same guys. We might not. Again, as we always preface by saying, me and Andre really don't communicate our top 10 list or our top 5 list as, you know, before we get on the show. So
we don't want to be robots for you fans.
Right. So I do have some...
PG and safe is one thing, but we don't want to be robots to you guys.
Bad robot, Andre. But listen, do you want to jump into your number 5? Or
I'll jump in first because I actually have an honorable mention this week.
So do I.
Okay, so you want to do paper, rock, scissors?
Ready?
And let's try and do this in sync this time. In 3, 2, 1.
Paper, rock, scissors. I can't see your thing.
Oh.
All right, ready? Here we go.
3, 2, 1. Go.
1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. You son of a bitch. 1, 2, 3. Ah! No.
What are you, Baron von Raschke?
All right, so we got that done. This is the most immature way I think we've ever. It doesn't matter.
It's fun, everybody.
So
now my number 11.
Wait, whoa! I won. Paper covers rock, homie. Yeah, it does. Paper covers rock. So I'm gonna jump into my number 11, my honorable mention, and my honorable mention is let me tell you something. This guy, he's not a wrestler, really. He's more of an owner. What am I talking about? I'm talking about the owner, or at one time one of the owners of the WWF at the time, Shane McMahon. I think Shane McMahon has some of the most hard-hitting matches I've ever seen. I mean, jumping from the top of the Titantron with an elbow drop onto Test, jumping from one corner of the ring to the other, smashing a garbage can to his opponent's face. Shane McMahon, for me, was as hardcore could be. And the coolest thing about this pick is that he didn't have to be. He was the money. Here comes the money.
Money talks.
Dude, this guy for me was an underrated performer, and I think they could have put the world title on him even for a short time. But
they gave it to his father gave it to himself. So personally, Shane McMahon, and I've said it before on this show, is my favorite of the McMahon clan.
Yep. All right. So why don't you jump into your honorable mention, Andre?
My honorable mention this week is none other than the Monster Abyss, who's earned the respect and mention in this honorable mention. Now, this is a guy, when you factor in thumbtacks, he's been burnt. I can't think of anything that the man hasn't put his body through up until this point. So when you factor all of that in, and the fact that he ate the TV title.
He did eat it. I said that.
It doesn't get any more hardcore than that, wrestling fans. So
yeah, he took it to the abyss.
Is my honorable mention this week.
Abyss took it to the abyss.
Andre.
The abyss of the toilet bowl after he was done with it. So I'm going to jump into my number 5. And my number 5, and a lot of people are not going to know who this guy is. And I'm going to screw up his name, but I know exactly who he is. And it is Eiji Hayabusa Ezaki. Now, people are like, who the hell are you talking about? Well, there was a wrestling company called FMW back in the 90s and the 2000s. And this guy fought amazing matches. I'm talking about octagon cage explosion matches, time bomb death matches, barbed wire matches. I'm serious.
Time bomb death
yes. Flaming table matches. Freaking, I mean, this guy, unfortunately, he suffered an injury during a match versus Sasaki, while he was attempting like a springboard, and his foot slipped to the middle rope, and he ended up basically, landing on his head and becoming paralyzed. So the poor guy's in a wheelchair now. But I mean, if you guys don't know who this guy is, his name is EIG or EIJI Hayabusa EZAKI. Google or YouTube any of his matches.
Say that 10 times.
Dude, this guy was the hardcore king of Japan. So that is my pick, my number 5 pick.
Now my number 10 pick is missing, so we're just gonna jump into my number 9.
You don't have a number. You don't have a 10. Make one up.
All right.
Make one up. Just think about it.
Just out of respect, I'll say Tommy Dreamer. Just the amount of effort the man's put in, how gracious he's been to the fans, within the talents in the industry, and anybody that's interacted, worked for, or been a part of Tommy Dreamer's interaction or life, indeed respects the man. Especially divas and knockouts. Oh, yeah. I don't know what it is. It's just maybe he's a sweet man. He was pretty cool when I got to chill with him for a half an hour in RCW Wrestling, but it wasn't enough to get to know the man, but he seemed very friendly and deserving of the respect. And let's not kid ourselves, the man is probably as sore as Mick Foley is when it comes to getting up every morning. So, yes, my impromptu number 10 selection on this week's Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 10 Greatest Hardcore Wrestlers of All Time Countdown is Tommy Dreamer.
I could have swore, Andre, that you mentioned Abdullah the Butcher.
That's my number 9.
That's your number 9. Okay, so I could have swore. All right.
So you're going to do 2 in a row. I'll just jump into it. Abdullah the Butcher with a fork in hand and multiple blades taped up in every fist and finger, literally carved his name and etched his name properly on this hardcore list, deservingly. So Abdullah the Butcher. Now, the ending over the last couple years of his legacy has been, let's just say, tarnished. I don't want to dive into that because I'm not really about focusing on the negatives, but you can't deny the legacy, the historic path of destruction within the hardcore realm that Abdullah the Butcher from Sedan, Canada, carved it within his career.
All right, Andre. Now, I sent you a very important text, and this is between me and Andre, so why don't you take a look at your phone while I jump into my number 4.
I don't got a big booger in my nose, eh?
Well, it's between your teeth. I'm kidding. No, your teeth are quite fine. So I'm going to jump into So should I let me just wait for Andre to...
I'll do 2. I'm 2 ahead of you, bro, so go ahead.
No, so you could still hear me where you are? This is unedited, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to edit this out. It's too much work. So anyway, I'm going to jump into my number 4. Now, my number 4, Andre, can you still hear me back there, Andre?
That's your brother, and it looks all good from what you sent me.
All right, so my number 4, if I said this guy was famous for using staple guns, forks, scissors, blades, and using cocaine, jumping 40 feet from the top of any balcony onto his opponent through a table or just straight up onto the floor. I'm talking about, for me, probably one of the most real hardcore wrestlers in the history. No, I'm not talking about Booker T. Sucker.
I'm not talking Booker T either.
But I'm talking about New Jack.
New Jack!
This guy is as real can come. If you see any shoot interview, this guy is a killer. This guy was a bounty hunter. This guy, he is as hardcore as you can come. So, remember, Andre, do you remember the song they used to come to the ring in ECW?
Nope.
Neither do I. But it was, I think it was a Public Enemy song. But, dude, it was him and Mustafa. My God. One of the most hardcore legends, one of the best hardcore legends in professional wrestling, and a guy who's scary real. So I'm not going to get into specifics, but
he was one of those men that you didn't want to tick off in the ring because, yeah.
There was an incident where allegedly a fan wanted to be cut by him, and he cut him.
Please! Please!
He cut him, and he
cut me.
He didn't just give him a little nick. Like, he cut him from here to here in the ring, and that's one hardcore son of a gun.
He has a history of going over and above and beyond the necessary means.
Oh yeah. All right, Andre, why don't you jump into your number 3 now?
Sabu!
Oh wait, time out.
Sky.
I was supposed to do 2 in a row.
Jesus, bro, you're killing me here.
All right, jump into your Sabu, and I'll jump into my number 3.
He's also the nephew of the Sheik, who trained him, and the innovator of chair offense. I think everyone can agree across the board. Sabu ultimately earns his way on this list with flying colors, and I wouldn't have it any other way, wrestling fans. Sabu, barbed wire, chairs, bats, everything, tables, ladders, just the whole shebang. Sabu is deservingly so. Number 7 on this week's Andre Corbeil Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 10 Selection Countdown.
Very cool. Sabu is... I remember watching the ECW DVD that WWE put together, and I remember Paul Heyman saying that he looks like the type of guy that would literally fight you to the death. And it's true. It's true. He is... I think he was the nephew of the original Sheik. Am I wrong?
Nope.
Okay. So why you give me that weird look?
I digress. Roll out, my brother. 2.
Okay.
2.
No, I'm on my number 3. And my number 3 is an icon of the 70s, or the late 70s, and mostly the 80s. Unfortunately, in I think it was 1988, he was stabbed in Bayamon, Puerto Rico, in the World Wrestling Council. This guy was hardcore before hardcore was even in the English language. This guy had amazing matches, one with wrestlers such as, Carlos Colon and Abdullah the Butcher over there in Puerto Rico. But he was all over the world, also wrestled in the AWA as King Kong Brody. I'm talking about the Enigma.
NWCCW.
Yep, the Enigma known as Bruiser Brody, 6'8". I mean, the guy, former basketball player, former football player. I mean, this guy was as tough as nails. He was a freaking wrecking machine. Bruiser Brody, man, had some of the most bloody matches I've ever seen anywhere, in any part of the world, in any organization. His brawling technique, I mean, he was just one of the baddest men on the planet, man. So there'll never be another Bruiser Brody. For me, number 3. Andre?
And the interesting thing about Frank is that he was never really owned by a promotion. He was a lot like Andre the Giant, like Abdullah the Butcher, that special attraction that traveled across the world hitting every promotion. That was his style, and that was the style he preferred to run with. He didn't like to be tied down to one particular promotion, and I think it was safe to say the same thing for Andre and Abdullah and a very small handful list of other wrestlers, but very successful and very deserving choice, Big Ray. I like that. I like that selection.
Go ahead, Andre. Jump into
now,
number 8.
You talk about him being hardcore before hardcore was in the English language.
Yes.
Yeah, well, my selection was hardcore before hardcore was even in the Arabic language. Yes, the original Sheik. Yes, the uncle of Sabu, who was the true originator of hardcore wrestling in the 60s, 70s, and the 80s as well. There was no one more psycho, no one more nuts than the Sheik, and many of the stars that we've mentioned in this top 10, I guarantee you, idolized and were inspired by the Sheik. Coming in this week, my number 5 selection.
He was absolutely an innovator of violence, like the way they put over Tommy Dreamer.
I just can't get over the Bill Apter story, man. How he never talked or uttered a word of English anywhere, and he's in the phone booth there trying to talk to his
Oh, yeah.
An impersonation of it. Yeah, baby, pick up some bread. And,
Yeah, he's like on the phone. He's like in the booth. He's like, all right, so we're going to meet Sam and Jesse for lunch, and... Mahala, Mahala. And no, honey, I wasn't talking to you, honey. I was just going kayfabe. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, this is at a time when everybody was protecting kayfabe. I mean, guys, please excuse me. I really haven't slept well the last day and a half. and I didn't sleep nothing last night, and I'm tired tonight. But
I'm tired too, brother.
But I'm here to do this show, and I anyway.
So sorry, but fans, I just went out of town, 45 minutes out of town today, shot a 50-minute interview with Teddy Hart, and lost the whole video. I don't know what the heck happened, but expect an interview sometime in the future. I hear it at wrestling.com with Teddy Hart. Such a good interview. Almost an hour, bro.
It's coming. It's coming. Don't worry about it. It'll come back. I'm going to jump into my number 2. And listen, the guy got his freaking ear ripped off. The guy has a tooth shoved through his freaking upper lip. The guy was tossed off a Hell in a Cell, which is about 20 feet high, onto the freaking floor. I mean, the guy went through a ring in Hartford, Connecticut. I mean, the guy used to do elbow drops off the freaking ring apron onto a cement floor when WCW had no padding around the ring. Who am I talking about? I'm talking about Cactus Jack. I'm talking about Dude Love.
What was that, Ray?
It was like I heard bang bang. I'm talking about the one and of course mankind. Mick Foley. Mick Foley. This guy. I mean, they during his documentary they showed a clip of him on the roof of his house, jumping off his roof onto some pissy mattresses behind his home.
How do you know they were pissy?
Believe me, those mattresses look pissy. Unless it was bad, grainy VHS videos from the 80s. But
could be.
This guy is just the epitome of hardcore. And it's funny how somebody so hardcore could be such a sweetheart. And Andre did actually one cool little interview with him here at OneWrestling.com. So I'm sure you can pretty much find that if you search it.
And he's
here.
every bit as warm, inviting, and as nice and friendly as we all perceive the man to be. So don't expect any scandal to ever really wreck the legacy that was carved from Mick Foley, who's my number 3 this week. Now, Ray, you pretty much covered it all, and some would say Mick Foley's arguably deserving of the number 1 spot on the grand stage, but not number 1 on my list.
So
very close.
So
close.
Mick Foley's your number 9?
He's my number 2, sorry.
Number 2, okay. All right, so who's your number 1? I jump into my number 1.
Yeah. This has been the most whacked out. You can tell we're tired, Ray.
I'm exhausted. Why don't you what? Why don't we do a reverse? Since I kind of stole your thunder, why don't you say what your number 1 is?
Well, we're gonna head on down to Amarillo, Texas. Yes, Terry Funk, the king of hardcore wrestling, without a shadow of a doubt, number 1, the toughest SOB there is, was, and ever will be. No pun intended there, Bret Hart. But when it pertains to this particular topic, and he's not just only a hardcore wrestling legend. You go back to his days in the NWA when he was NWA World Champion, competing with Ric Flair, Harley Race, all of the great legends. So he's more than one-dimensional for the fans that only know Terry Funk, the Funkster, as just a hardcore legend, the hardcore legend, but he was much, much more than that, wrestling fans. So without a shadow of a doubt, number 1 this week in Andre Corbeil's selection on the Can-Am Wrestling Show Top 10 Hardcore Wrestlers of All Time, Terry Funk.
Very, 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 very good pick. My number 1, nobody would ever guess who my number 1 would be. And Andre, I know you're not going to be able to guess who my number 1 would be, but I'm going to give you a couple of hints. I mean, this guy came to the ring in full football garb. Who am I talking about? Well, this guy is he's trained wrestlers from WCW all the way to WWE. Who am I talking about? This man is the master of the big wiggle. I'm talking about Norman Smiley. That is my number 1. No, my number 1 is Terry Funk.
Man,
Andre Corbeil. Remember Norman Smiley?
Yes.
The WCW hardcore champion? Yeah, the big.
Yeah, I hated him.
Oh, he was awesome. He
just wanted to lose that damn title, and by hook or crook, some way or the other, he'd always retain the championship.
He's like George Jefferson. He like a diesel George Jefferson. If anybody don't know who George Jefferson is, that's exactly what he looked like. But my number 1 is Terry Funk. I mean, some of my earliest memories is of Terry Funk, branding people with his stupid little branding iron and WWF. But my real first hardcore memory of Terry Funk, me personally, is watching him kind of turn on Ric Flair after Ric Flair took the title back from Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and he freaking pile drove Ric Flair on a freaking table.
I was just kidding, Rick.
Yeah, I was just kidding, Rick. I would never challenge you for a champion. I mean, you're a great champion.
I'm sorry.
Awesome. So I mean, you and I both think alike because we both are number one, number two, Mick Foley and Terry Funk.
And if people don't agree with this number one selection, just go check out ECW's very first pay-per-view where they needed him to really credibilize that organization at the time. And indeed, being a well-aged, let's just call him veteran, a grizzled vet, still came out and put his body on the line. Go watch the documentaries, wrestling fans.
I mean, the dude was doing a moonsault at like 50-something years old.
Hence, he's both our number one picks, so
Yeah.
that says it all.
That definitely solidifies. All right, so Andre, why don't we jump into our
It's
Q&A segment?
Q&A time! All right, everybody, we're just over the 66th Boulevard crossing, and there's traffic on the left side.
Yeah, we're both delirious right now, straight up. It's like freaking 2 o'clock in the morning here in New York. Anyway, go ahead, Andre.
Number one for me, wrestling fans, has WWE moved Kevin Owens down the card? Your thoughts and your opinions, fans. Now, Ray and I aren't going to comment after any of these questions. These Q&A questions are going to be presented to you, the fan, and pick which ones to comment and interact with that you want. If one particular question doesn't get discussed or whatnot, we won't touch base next week when we do the response videos. So,
right. So
that's my first one.
So basically, we're asking the fans the questions, and whichever ones I guess are discussed the most are the ones that we're basically going to focus on. So,
That's right.
Why don't you jump into the first question?
Has WWE moved Kevin Owens down to the mid-card level, wrestling fans? We want to hear your thoughts and your opinions.
Now, just so the fans clearly understand this, these are not questions that you guys gave us. We're going to do things. Right. We're going to do things a little different. We're going to give you the questions, and the ones that you guys find the most interesting in discussing, those are the ones we're going to elaborate on next week. So again,
10 altogether for you fans to pick from. So
right.
Don't answer every question. Pick the ones that interest you most. And as Ray just said, those will be the ones we highlight on next week's response video.
And again, we will not talk about Hogan. So
Nope.
I'm just kind of reminding you guys about that. All right, so I'm going to jump into my first question. And my first question is Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker a good idea for SummerSlam? And if it is it an easy setup for a WrestleMania rubber match? So basically what I'm asking you guys is that do you think that it would be predictable that if they fight here at SummerSlam, it would obviously lead into a final match with The Undertaker possibly?
So what was the question again?
Is Brock Lesnar versus The Undertaker a good idea for SummerSlam? And if it is it an easy setup for the WrestleMania rubber match?
Nice, nice. Now, there's a lot of uncertainty surrounding TNA Impact Wrestling. And my next question, you wrestling fans on this list, is should TNA pursue Netflix as a form of spreading their brand reach and awareness out there?
That's really interesting. I wish I could talk about that now, but we're not. That's actually an interesting topic. I'm going to jump into my next question, fans. And is there a black or Latino WWE or NXT superstar that you feel the WWE or NXT, or it's the same thing, the WWE can push to the sky right now? So that's an interesting question. I would like to know what you guys think. So, Andre?
Now, my next question is a WWE-related question. Should the WWE pull a 180 and totally revamp Randy Orton's character and look?
Maybe they can grow a beard or something.
Let's hear your thoughts, fans. What do you got, Ray? What do you got, Ray?
All right. So I'm gonna jump into. All right. This is a really simple question. Why has Seth Rollins' WWE Championship run suck? Why does it suck? Why is it boring? Why is it a bust? Why does it stink? Why is it just average? We want to hear what you guys think. So, Andre?
Interesting. Now, my next question is pertaining and relating to Global Force Wrestling. Now, what network would best suit the needs, the wants, and the future of Global Force Wrestling the best? So comment below and let me know, wrestling fans.
So you're asking them basically like what channel?
What network would best suit their needs at this present time, and not just at this present time, their future as well.
Future endeavors. Okay.
Not just a Band-Aid, you know?
Oh, very cool.
Or a starting block, like solid, rock solid out of the gate.
I got you, champ. All right,
One more question each, brother. See, flew through these.
I have 2 more questions.
All right, well, you go next, brother.
All right, so I'm gonna read. Again, very tired. Didn't sleep last night. Why has WWE Tough Enough? Why is it a total failure? In my opinion, total failure. So I want to know why you guys think it's a total failure, especially well, you know what? Let me shut up.
Yeah. You tell the passion of Big Ray's coming right through. We're supposed to just stop at the red line here. We both want to go over. So now that TNA, my next question is, now that TNA has announced founder Jeff Jarrett into the TNA Hall of Fame, who should be on next year's Hall of Fame induction? Should it be a male, or more importantly, should it be a female, wrestling fans? I want to hear your opinions.
Interesting. I think it should be the next question. I want to answer that question, but I'm not. All right, so my last question, the last question I'm asking you is, at this point, WWE/NXT or the TNA Knockouts or any other female organization, who has the best women's wrestling, not sports entertainment, wrestling now?
Well, then you just never mind. You just eliminated WWE out of that question.
I don't want to hear that. I think, you know what, we can't really talk about it right now, Andre.
I know.
We're going to have to move on. All right,
so that's the end of our Q&A. We're very interested to hear your interaction, and next week you'll get our interaction. So we appreciate you guys tuning in. Thank you for booking next week's show, and it's going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun doing this, Ray. We won't be as tired next week, and we only have one segment left, and it's the Pro Wrestling What If. Now, do you want to take this, Ray?
The Pro Wrestling What If. All right, I'm going to jump off of my What If question. And basically, and we'll briefly discuss these 2 topics, and we want to hear you guys elaborate on this. But what if Dixie Carter decided to sell TNA back to the Jeff Jarrett family? I mean, what would be the end game? What's your opinion on that, Andre?
That's a story for down the road.
All right, so we're gonna save that for the fans also to discuss.
That's right. Now, my what if is, what if Owen Hart didn't fall tragically to his death? Would he have become WWE World Champion? Or would he have eventually migrated to Japan, AAA, or even join his brother in WCW? So I want to hear your interactions, fans, and your thoughts.
Well, this has been different. But again, guys, this isn't a full-fledged Can-Am wrestling show.
This is us tired and still caring enough for you guys to get a show out there for you.
But not only that, dude. This is like whoa, what the hell was that? This is basically a setup for the legit show, for the hour-long Can-Am Wrestling Spectacular with Bill Schuyler back in the day, and everybody else and their grandmother is going to be there, and we're going to have Bret Hart's nephew on. Are we going to have Bret Hart's nephew?
I'd have to go drive out of the city and pick him up, but I could have him here. We'll see. See.
I just made that up. I wasn't even sure he had a nephew that you could bring in.
I actually could do that. I thought you were being serious.
So much for that friggin' joke. I am tired, but I do love you guys. Andre, why don't you wrap us up and take us home?
We strongs to the finish, 'cause we eats our spinach. Well, Big Ray and Andre, man.
No, you know how many people.
That's the wrong show.
Do you know how many people right now, under the age of 30, have absolutely no idea what the hell you just did? They think you're imitating the pirate from SpongeBob.
Hey, be quiet there, Bluto.
I'm serious. They don't know who that is either. They think that's a dog from freaking Mickey Mouse.
We're knowledgeable, passionate, OneWrestling.com reporters, and we know each and every one of you fans tuning in and supporting our show are knowledgeable, passionate wrestling fans too, and that's why Big Ray and Andre Corbeil do what we do for each and every one of you guys. Tried, tested, and true, and we ain't gonna stop because we love you, and we're all in this for one thing, and what's that, everybody?
Wrestling. Andre Corbeil, I always say this after every single video. I would do this for a living. And if I can't, I would do it anyway. Why? Because I love talking wrestling. That's more like a creepy pedophile type guy, right? Anyway, we will see you next time. And in the words of the legendary Bill Apter himself, Andre, we will see you
at the matches. Hey, sell my shots, Ray.
At the matches.
There we go. Peace.